We have more for your ears only. I'm Eddie Robinson.
I'm David Alpern with this quote from the news. If you charged me to use my debit card, I would find that very irritating. That was Stephen Troutner of Citibank describing customer reaction that led his company to resist the new revenue measure instituted by Bank of America and other major financial institutions to make up for limits on other fees imposed by recent financial reform legislation. Now this.
To have innocent little 12-year-old girls be forced to have a government injection through an executive order is just flat out wrong. That should never be done.
Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann drew applause in the recent GOP presidential debate on CNN when she attacked a 2007 executive order by fellow candidate Rick Perry as Texas governor, mandating that sixth-grade girls receive a vaccine against HPV, the most common sexually transmitted disease today, and often a precursor to cervical cancer. The order was ultimately blocked, but Bachmann stirred more controversy and criticism of herself when she reported without checking that a woman in the audience was distraught because her daughter's HPV vaccination caused mental retardation, a claim experts widely dismiss.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, less than half of American girls complete the recommended HPV vaccination series, fewer than for several other vaccines recommended for teens. But these preventive shots also find resistance in many places, producing significantly lower vaccination rates than for infants and toddlers. To talk more about teens and vaccines for Your Ears Only, we're joined by Dr. Claire McCarthy, a pediatrician and medical communications editor at Children's Hospital Boston, where she also writes for the wellness blog Thriving. A columnist for Sesame Street Parents, she's also a contributing editor for Parenting Magazine, a senior editor for Harvard Health Publications, and a mom raising 5 kids. Dr. McCarthy, welcome to our program.
I'm glad to be here.
First of all, explain the connection between HPV, human papillomavirus, sexual activity, and cervical cancer. Are all strains of HPV linked to that cancer and covered by the vaccine?
Well, HPV is the most common sexually transmitted disease, and there are many, many strains of it. Some are more likely to cause cervical cancer than others, and the vaccine prevents, not against all of them, but does prevent these strains that are most commonly associated with cervical cancer.
And what about the natural parental reaction, accurate or not, that their young teens and tweens are still far from being sexually active? I mean, how much lead time before such activity does the vaccine need to become effective?
You know, this is a really common conversation that I have with parents, and I really try to disengage a little bit this idea that if we give this vaccine, that we have to give it right before they become sexually active. I mean, nobody really knows when a child is going to become sexually active. We all hope that children will delay sexual activity until they're whatever age, late teens, 20s, whatever, but we know that by the end of high school, 2/3 of American teens have become sexually active. And really, the message that I try to give to parents is giving this vaccine is not saying to your child it's okay to go have sex. This is a vaccine to help prevent cancer. That's what it's about.
And how much research is there on any side effects, if not mental retardation? Are even small numbers of girls especially sensitive to the vaccine?
The HPV vaccine does not cause mental retardation. I don't know where that came from. That is just not something it's associated with. We have given this vaccine now to thousands and thousands and thousands of American teenagers, and really we are not concerned about it. With any vaccine, there's always a possibility of a side effect or a reaction, but it seems to be extremely well tolerated, and there have been no side effects that have worried us seriously. Some girls seem to be more likely to faint after getting it. It's very uncommon, but it seems to happen. We don't know exactly why, so it's recommended that girls or boys, because boys can get this vaccine as well, sit for a little while after getting the vaccine.
What are some of the other diseases for which post-toddler vaccinations or booster shots are recommended?
Well, the vaccines that we really want to give to adolescents are not only HPV vaccine, and as I said, that's important for boys as well because it can prevent penile and penile cancer, warts, anal cancer. But we really want teenagers to get their tetanus and diphtheria and acellular pertussis boosters. We're seeing more and more pertussis, so it's really important that we get our adolescents and young adults immunized. The Menactra vaccine, the vaccine against meningococcal disease, is something we really want adolescents to get. You hear about those cases in the news, a perfectly well college student who gets a little fever and then they're dead in 24 hours. This vaccine can help prevent that. We're also finding that a lot of adolescents are not fully immunized against chickenpox. Many have only had one vaccine, and we've really found that 2 is better. So those are the ones that we're really trying to give to our adolescents.
In the case of another sexually transmitted disease, hepatitis B, at least the first dose of vaccine is now given at birth in case the mother is infected. Could that approach clear some of the controversy over HPV and other sexually connected disease vaccines?
No, that's a really interesting question, and it may be that where we end up with immunizations is just immunizing infants against everything and leaving it at that. But in order to do that, we need to know, first of all, how long the immunity lasts, and secondly, we need to know whether it's safe in babies. It's probably safe in babies, but we would need to do some studies and fully understand the vaccine before doing that. But it's a really interesting idea.
Massachusetts has also had significant success in mandating some vaccinations for 7th graders and college freshmen. Which ones and how successful do you see those mandates?
Well, the mandates have just changed this year, actually. So I think some of them, it's going to take a little time before we know how successful they are. But they're the ones that I've talked about. We really want to be sure that kids have 2 doses of varicella. We really want to be sure that they get their pertussis vaccine, and we're now allowing that to be given a little earlier than we did before. And the meningococcal vaccine is something that we're now mandating for kids entering college. It's being phased in, and booster doses are being phased in so that this isn't all being thrown at parents at once. But I'm very pleased about this. I think that Massachusetts is really leading the way when it comes to keeping children safe from vaccine-preventable diseases.
Dr. Claire McCarthy is a pediatrician and medical communications editor at Children's Hospital Boston, where she also writes for the wellness blog Thriving. A columnist for Sesame Street Parents, she's also a contributing editor for Parenting Magazine, a senior editor for Harvard Health Publications, and a mom raising 5 kids.
Quote from the news, complete disregard for Michael Jackson's safety and Michael Jackson's life. That was David Walgren, deputy prosecutor in the involuntary manslaughter trial of Dr. Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal physician. For $150,000 a month, Murray was accused of giving the singer powerful drugs he wanted rather than what good medical practice dictated.
Next, TV or not TV, the new season for your ears only.